Biscuit.
Remember Baby Buggy Bumpers?
You remember Rubber Biscuit?
Oh, what's Rubber Biscuit?
I do have
Bow, bow. It's a Dan Aykroyd. Well, actually, it's an old blues routine. But Dan Aykroyd did it as part of the Blues Brothers. God, now I got to remember it.
That's what bow, bow, bow. I don't know. That or something else.
It does have a start.
I have this is running now, and I have a tiny study.
Oh,
The
okay.
short version,
Short
only
version.
the dark. What do you call it? Italic. So this, that. And I have a quick announcement. 2 announcements actually. So let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, Halloween.
Hello, sacred. Can I what? Will I what? Oh, grounds. You know what I mean. Poetry of all kinds, ladies and gents, is welcome, but we ask you to respect the mic, keep conversation to a whisper, put phones on mute or on the floor and step on it, vibrate, and do not distract the amplifiers or the speakers or the lead guitar or pass in front of the drums. Also, keep to the time limit, usually 5 minutes, but nowadays 4 is better.
Better.
4 and more. Miles Davis, thank you. Have 2 shows. We have 2 shows. We have the 7-ish and the 8:40-ish. Yes, these are Dr. Seuss shows. Going short on your time helps everyone on the mic at the same time. Sac Red's longest standing tradition. Who's Sac Red? I know Sac Grau.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Also, keep in, if you want to be in the loop, you better get a jump rope, weaving up in malice. See one of the hosts, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop. A Facebook page, and we stream live. Oh yeah, we pee all over the floor. Thanks to Mr. Natural. See the URL. See the USA on the wall. See it there. See the URL. Ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead said that, good old Margaret. This evening's theme is medium, and I've already heard hours of discussion on this. Verstinken a word. Verstinken is one of my father's made-up words. So it should be disinteresting. Also, next week's feature will be...
Next week's feature
Next
is
week.
Brian Doherty, all the way from England.
Brian Doherty. The keynote is a mystery.
Yeah,
we don't know if he or she, a mystery. Anyhow, so keynote. Our feature is.
Peter Martine in the house.
Peter Martine!
Okay, Peter. Yeah. Who'll give the Queen's Wave? Who else will give the Queen's Wave? As to the second show, the last word will be the Sanderell, the cursive writer, Richard Sanderell. The mini feature is Nicholas. And we have fabulous door prizes.
Let me go over
Feather
these.
boas. We have.
Feather boas. Okay, so Andy Williams.
God, throw it out.
Now, if you were here and saw Patrice Hahn, this is her CD, which I bought. I found out that I already had one, so I didn't have to buy it, but I have one, so there's OJT New Originals for the Green Lady. I don't know anything about that. Kathy Sanborn, Recollecting You. Not me. Maybe you, not me. Nice ankles on the girl. The Vicar of Dibley. I have known nothing about this. And then Joseph Campbell's Historical Atlas of the World Mythology, Volume 2, The Way of the Seated Earth. This is this. And then this is Volume 2 of that, Mythologies of the Great Hunt. So those are there. And we are not limited to things which you can take. We're looking to things that are not takeable.
What else, Dan?
If you want to be a co-pilot,
I want to be a
you
co-pilot.
can join in that. Pick one of those. Be the keynote, which we have tonight, but we don't know who it is.
Who is that keynote?
Choose the theme or prompt. Huh? Oh, Antoinette's the keynote. I didn't write it down, so now we know. Thank you.
Oh, we have a keynote. We have a keynote. No more calls, please. We have a keynote.
Thank you. The last word. Starts and ends the second show. Mini feature, 8 minutes in the second half. And choosing the theme or prompt, which David did last week. Wasn't it you?
Medium. It was medium.
All right.
It was
now
a
I have
medium
a couple of
prompt.
things to do
It's
very
also
quickly.
a medium.
All right.
Okay. Keynote.
Yes.
Keynote.
No, I have to do one.
No. 16 announcements first.
I got to do these things.
Do these. Do these.
All right.
This is a debut of a temporary practice here at Sacred Grounds. A poet came here and he was here and he featured and he liked it so much that he wanted to give me money. And I said, I don't want any money. And he said, well, I'm going to send you this money. So he sent me the money and I decided to make a Jack Foley Memorial Sandwich. He's not dead, but he likes the idea of calling it the Jack Foley Memorial Sandwich. Now, Sharon Scott Kish is shuffling the cards, and she's going to pick a card, and then I'm going to hand that person this envelope, which contains $15, which is enough for them to go buy a sandwich and a drink or something.
I thought you were going to take us all out to dinner with that.
Yeah, $15 will take you out to dinner on Mars. It's very cheap.
Woo! Cool.
So, no, you don't have 30, do we? 6. Oh, 6, I have that. Owen Dunkel, the first honorary Jack Foley Sandwich Award for Owen Dunkel.
And now this takes us back into the political realm, and I'm sorry for that. If many people have heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I'm sure. But there are 30 articles in that, and there was a rumor going around that they were offering or considering to create a 31st article. My version is relative to the information I had there, and it reads like this. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights should be protected by the rule of law that anyone anywhere shall benefit, enjoying freedom from fear or want, as well as a universal recognition of fundamental human rights, including, as it does, the dignity and worth of the human person. Now, this is where the article starts. No state, organization, group, or class of people shall compel any constituent citizen, member, or individual to engage in any activity, perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Therefore, individuals have the right of refusal regarding any form of compulsory military service and or are free to discontinue such service at any time on moral grounds. That is to say, if such service violates any articles of the UDHC. Further, it is therefore incumbent on all people to support those who exercise their right of refusal to serve under Article 31 of the UDHC, which means if you don't want to bear arms at any time for any reason, you can just simply refuse and say, no, I don't want to join the army and you can't make me. So that's what this is about, and I'm asking for an assent here. People say, yes, this is probably a good idea. Affirmations, thank you very much. Abstentions? Yes.
No, an
Addendum.
When you say refusal to serve, what those countries will do, as our government does, they will make them as a medic and send them to the front line. So you need to put a piece in there that there will be no compulsory, including that.
No compulsory military service of any kind.
So that they can't send you without
Yes.
weaponry and make you a medic, because that's what this government does.
Okay, that is fine then. I will add that or make amends. We'll communicate. Anyway, so that's the beginning of this. It needs to be amended as this, and that's why I read it here. So we are ready to begin with Antoinette Payne as our keynote speaker of the evening.
Give her a nice round. Thank you for running the
Good evening, everybody.
evening.
Good evening. I have Adrian Rich this evening from the collected poems from 1950 to 2012. This is 1972, and it's called Diving into the Wreck.
Oh, it's a great one.
Isn't that a great poem?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's the poet?
Adrian Rich.
Oh my God, I just lost it.
It's okay, I lose it all the time.
Oh, there it is. Oh no, it doesn't have a page. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
You want to
look for for it while I go.
Now that,
I'm number one.
yeah, that would be good.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I just
Have a
lost
seat,
it.
just sit down.
Thank you.
Yeah, just have a seat here. We'll take care of her. All right. She's gonna come back 'cause she misplaced her page, but that's all right. Oh, you might as well raise it up there, buddy. All right.
There it is.
I found it.
You found it? You're up.
Yeah, okay.
Flexibility. First rule of
Great, thank you.
Thermodynamics.
Diving into the wreck. First, having read the Book of Myths and loaded the camera and checked the edge of the knife blade, I put on the armor body of black rubber, the absurd slippers, the grave and awkward mask. I'm having to do this not like Cousteau with his assiduous team aboard the sun-flooded schooner, but alone. There's a ladder. The ladder is always there, hanging innocently close to the side of the schooner. We know what it's for, we who have used it. Otherwise, it's a piece of maritime floss, some sundry equipment. I go down rung after rung, and still the oxygen emerges me, the blue light, the clear atoms of our human air. I go down, my flippers cripple me. I crawl like an insect down the ladder, and there is no one to tell me when the ocean will begin. First the air is blue, and then it is bluer, and then green, and then black. I'm blacking out, and my mask is powerful. It pumps my blood with power. The sea is another story. The sea is not a question of power. I have to learn alone to turn my body without force in the deep element. And now it is easy to forget what I came for among so many who have always lived here, swaying their crenellated fans between reefs, and besides, you breathe differently down here. I came to explore the wreck. The words are purposes, the words are maps. I came to see the damage that was done and the treasures that prevail. I stroke the beam of my lamp slowly along the flank of something more permanent than fish or weed. The thing I came for, the wreck and not the story of the wreck, the thing itself and not the myth, the drowned face always staring toward the sun, the evidence of damage worn by salt and sway into the threadbare beauty, the ribs of the disaster curving their assertion among the tentative haunters. This is the place, and I am here, the mermaid whose dark hair streams black, the merman in his armored body. We circle silently about the wreck. We dive into the hold. I am she, I am he, whose drowned face sleeps with open eyes, whose breasts still bear the stress, whose silver copper vermeil cargo lies obscurely inside barrels, half wedged and left to rot. We are the half-destroyed instruments that once held to a course, the water-eaten log, the fouled compass. We are, I am, you are, by cowardice or courage, the one who find our way back to the scene carrying a knife, a camera, a book of myths in which our names do not appear.
Thank you. We'll be back when we open to your own. Oh, sure. But if you do need something by somebody else, I hand you this so that you can help me remember who the heck it was and stuff like that. Can you pass that back?
So last week I told you about Nance Wogan, who died. She's a poet at Strawberry Creek Lodge where I live. And I read you a little poem I wrote about writing her obit. And this is when I wrote the obit. I used her own words. So this is something that Nancy wrote. It's called Being You, and we printed it in our in-house paper. You can be you and still stay true if you can realize just how you've come into this life of now. From past mistakes and loving climbs, out of misery to happier times. In connection with your own divine power, you may learn how to flower. And with some ability to take pride in yourself, peace may reside. From Nance Wogan.
I have to ask, is that Nancy?
Nancy or just Nancy's?
Well, we called her Nance. It's Nancy Wogan.
Okay, because I wrote it up last time. I want to make sure.
Grumble, grumble, grumble. O cult of me, my sinister self. Oh, cult of me. My wolf, my whelp, my evil hand that's in command, opposing my non-existent band. Binary, trident, quartermaster, quintessential sex, September, octagon or octopus, El Nino decimates this curse of indeterminate, ageless bunk. No tusks, no horn, no fin, no trunk. Plastic in the deep has sunk. One generation gone to blast. A comic book, no humor there. I'm sorry, youth misspent, role miscast. Homeless, we clean, no clean clothes to wear. Catastrophic tincture, a pinch of this won't set you free. The fates have twined in triplicate, there really is no end of it. My favorite girl, a Cooper's hawk, gave chase, observed not window pane. Damaged wing now heals like sling that managed to disarm where movie stars no longer charm the bracelet of this gypsy corpse. A coarse yet bracing blood of horse, more rain obscures glacial moraine. Sideways, I am not the same. Cucumber, squash, heirloom tomato, sidles through Laredo. At Big Bend, the Rio Grande is only 3 feet deep. You can walk across to Mexico. There is no town in Texas less than 70 miles away. This U.S. human culture has gotten very gamey. Like an untended carcass where the meat has turned rancid. Corporate culture has no soul. It has the same rights as a human, yet infinitely more wrongs. Bad spirits huddled in the corner of your cubicle. Field foibles your neighbors can see, which are invisible to you. Vessel or content, make up your mind, make up your face. You can't have both. Rabbit hole, black hole, wormhole, stop walking. Use your roots. Find the water. Share the sunlight. Dapple the apple. Saw the sauce. But be careful. Day of the Dead is just around the corner, squatting on a ledge, removing a manhole cover, draining your sense of essence, gargling gargoyle oil. Remove your scales. Set them out to dry. Without your epidermis, you are nothing. Agent Orange manifest in a president without presence. A homunculus even a monkey couldn't love. Atlas has dropped his globe. The weight is oppressive. With homelessness, we all assume the burden. Real estate is fake estate. We don't own dirt, we are dirt. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Boy, I don't like you. For some women, I am misery bringer. Arrogance, indifference, and anger all jump to the fore. Buttons easily pushed, zippers ripped to shreds. Negatives repel. Unfortunately, they also look into my eyes and see my parents' unending love. That juxtaposition of bliss and piss is a constant near miss. Near misses. Near misses? Exigency. Thank you, Alan.
Alan?
Exigency. Gather up your mana, wear it on your skin. Oracle of Aura, your molt will now begin. Feather, worn, quill deplete, expelled from epidermis to quickly lose its seat. Degenerate, regenerate. Cycle, circle, snap. Energy eternal into your sap you tap. Almost done. Another ring, another year. Moisture ebbs, vision clears. Self-perpetuation, a round of self-sustain. Satisfied to kiss the vista, mountains stretch to plains. Felicity, simplicity, please maintain the path. Observe the real exigency. Shuck excess, sorrow, wrath. You can still choose to sing the blues or holler at the sun, for you are filled with stillness of fun. That's on the run. Thank you.
Fun is on the run. DJ Benson.
Sorry to go over there.
AJ?
AJ?
At the beginning, I didn't have.
Who's taller than I am?
Now you are good.
Is that alright? Is that just, how's my hat look? Is it okay? I don't really thank you. Didn't really care anyways, but you know, I like that every now and then. Who'd that come from? Anyways. Basically, that's a little bit better. Let's see here. I know what he's doing. Good enough. Anyways, that's an introduction for what's going on. There's a Folsom Street Party, I think, going on Saturday. This is kind of a remembrance. I moved to San Francisco on 7/3/18, and I took a journey down Folsom, and I ran some, I don't know if you call it a snag, but I was getting kicked out of a lot of bars for no fucking reason. I'm not sure like what was going on. And the end of the straw was, well, I ended up having to use the bathroom. I went to this one, apparently I thought it was like a restaurant or something. I used a bathroom, right? I screwed around. And it turned by dumb luck, it turned out to be like an S&M B&D club. Luckily, I had all my bondage gear in my backpack, so it turned out pretty fucking good. Maybe not, but anyways, this is the end result of this is called Who I Am. And holding and expressing my true colors of who I am and who I am perceived to be, a ghost hunt and a telephone game of circle the subject, so signal the neighbor who I am. The time of this is where I'm at, so remember the reason I don't really give a damn. You're still on it, but what does it really matter anyways? Who I am? Try to explain it, for the ego shall know. Who I am? Pointless as a dot connects, but that can't be so. A dot connected? Who I am? Dot that I. Dot. Who? Pay attention. It's really important. Who am I? Who I am. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. So with that.
Thank you. Tony! Who's this Tony? That's Tony. Oh no, this guy? Give him a round of applause. People cheering over here. Come on, this guy knows what he's doing around here. Frame this guy. Tony. Okay.
A little bit lower.
There we go. You're in.
This next poem is dedicated to all those race horses who entertain while in pain. I really dislike horse races. They are a most disturbing thing. A beautiful horse being whipped like a slave, and after winning being crowned like a king. I really dislike horse races. They are a most disturbing thing. I am short like that Latino jockey atop many a racehorse, but I am not he, nor could I be he, that whips and whips with leather whip, that what and who I love. I once knew a jockey who would beat his racehorse with a leather whip while wearing his red leather glove, forcing his horse to race against his own kind for his owner, and he didn't mind. Now I got myself rattled. All this for the entertainment purposes of winning a race and putting a smile on the face of those privileged people at the top of that pyramid so they could take home the purse. Today I speak for all the race horses when I say we've all been cursed. And if we should fall in a race and break a leg today, we're all as good as dead. Let me repeat this slowly, so you could understand what I just said. If we should fall in a race and break a leg today, we are all as good as dead. Today I am that racehorse with warm blood running through my veins, with eyes that see love, with a beating heart that feels love, with a brain in my head that too understands love. But if I should fall in a race today and break my leg, I'm as good as dead. Racehorses cannot speak, there is no Mr. Ed. So today I speak for those whipped and those forgotten racehorses with these few words that I've read. From me to you, racehorses, beautiful racehorses, they need their revolution too. Thank you.
Who's next?
Robert for B.
Robert! Come on, give him a round of applause. You're framed there, buddy.
It's always a pleasure to be here. This theme is Far From Home, which was last week's theme, so I'm a week late.
That's good.
And Tony will assist me, and that'll be self-explanatory as I go along.
All right.
The name of this is No Wonder He Was Called the Latino Jackie Robinson. Far from home, he came not to conquer, but to play. His play, his work, his pride. His pride, his joy, his craft. His craft, his art. His art was baseball. His skills vast and voracious, hitting for average and power, running, catching, throwing. He was the rare 5-tool all-star. 6 if you count an odd and fearless willingness to get on base by taking pitches off his shoulders, his hips, his thighs, his ribs. Far from home, far from the Cuban and Negro leagues in which he thrived, Orestes Minoso arrived in the American League of post-World War II already with 2 strikes, black skin and no hable inglés, the dreaded double minority. The gringo press called him Mini Minoso, but there was nothing mini about him. Not his courage, not his talent, not his crowd-pleasing flair. Saturnino Orestes Armas Minoso Arrieta was a Cuban comet who blazed the trail for Clemente and Cepeda and Tiant, for Aparicio and Campaneris and Marichal, and all those Alus, for the Tonys, Oliva and Perez, and for many others, so many others. No wonder Cepeda called him the Latino Jackie Robinson. Far from home, Minoso came not to conquer, but conquer he did. Every season for the decade of 1951 through 1960, those 10 years, a legacy of sustained excitement and excellence, not quite up there with Mantle or Mays, but otherwise unmatched. Attesting to Minoso's stature far from home, there stands a statue outside the home of the White Sox on the south side of his adopted city, in which he might have been as beloved as hockey's Makita and basketball's MJ. But there's no Hall of Fame plaque for Minoso far from home in Cooperstown, and that's both shame and stain on the sport he loved, the sport he lived. Near death, in his own words, still far from home, he had this to say: "The world didn't break me. I never let the world hurt me.
El mundo no me rompió. No dejé el mundo lastimarme.
They used to call me terrible things. That is what the world is like.
Me llamaron cosas malas, pero así fue el mundo.
None of it stayed with me. Never did I let them see it bothered me.
Nada de eso quedó conmigo. No dejé a la gente ver que me molestó.
I never wanted them to know my feelings on the inside, even though I was crying inside.
Nunca quería dejar saber cómo yo me sentía, aunque por dentro yo estaba llorando.
On the outside, I just gave them my smile all the time.
Por afuera le di mi sonrisa por siempre.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Gary, you dropped something.
Goes on. Thank you so much.
And then Owen's next.
Okay, so who's up now?
Britt.
Britt.
Britt Peter, then Owen on deck. All right. The Honorable Britt Peter, give him a recognition for his skills, time, life skills, history, and more.
Okay. Today, another leaflet. Formal impeachment inquiry. Brief sigh of relief. Nancy getting off the dime. A good speech, but not Whittier's bells ringing at the end of war. Why should there ever be any question for the need to bring down a petty tyrant? 71 million displaced persons. War, climate, oppression, kids in cages, nations destroyed by strategic bombing, and the rise of fascism worldwide. And right here, the daily fight for basic needs, food, shelter, and a modicum of freedom. All on Ohlone land that they kept in good form for over 6,000 years.
Yeah.
Avanti popolo alla riscosa. And this is how mad I got before she got off the dime. Tonight's theme is medium. As a cover-all word, a safe bet. Medium rare, please. Medium well done, please. Medium-sized houses, not big enough for guests or a commune. Medium-sized cars, still gas guzzling. Medium-sized cages for visiting children. Medium-sized allotments for 71 million displaced persons. How'd you like to live in a tent? Medium-sized guns for a small congregation. Or a preschool audience, but make them automatic. And make sure the teacher has a medium-sized pistol in the desk drawer. Medium-sized bombs, just in case. All options are on the table. Medium-sized to small-sized brains to shrivel our chances of a happy life. Keep the Electoral College, encourage private prisons. Give each town lots of tear gas and medium-sized tanks. Whatever you do, follow a path of moderation. Don't rock the boat. Wear a coat and carry an umbrella when you go out into the polluted rain.
Thank you. All right. Owen up and Stephanie on deck. I want to thank the people that come up so far for going kind of short. It's very nice. Everybody on, we like that. Thank you, Mr. Owen Dunkel, the first winner of the Foley Memorial Sandwich.
Thank you. Yeah. First of all, I have checkbooks for sale.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Excuse me.
There you go. Yeah.
These are my latest poems. Reading, dead silence, there is a roar of silence passing the patrons as they walk to and from the library. Poema. Complacent as the day is long, books and papers do belong on the library shelves day after day. I do delve going in and out, up and down, corners and horners I see around the street. There are corners and crevices. I am bound. Mourners and poets sit by themselves in the calm Library of Congress in transgressions. Senate in the House, of course it is folly to declare war. Troops and tanks go forth, one by one. Opus of the library began at the sleepy soul of 2 o'clock. Ziz can scintillate itself, riding into the sunset at 4 o'clock. The slow flow of oxygen keeps my mood afloat. Henry James Jones keep together with strokes of my pen and sword. Mozart loved to spend money, saith Franz Starry, who resides in Montrose, California. Today, the heat alights on the pavement as each ray of sun melts itself into the hot ground. Another day of heat and heat chills clamps on my heart and brain and the darkened light of the library. Heat. Macadam that melts in my sight as the sun sets high on Hollow Hate Street. Rushing by people I meet on the way to Shangri-La. A sort of cool parade. Rah, rah, rock and roll, the soul of warp and woof, of coal and abandon, tasteful as a grove of trees on peaceful Page Street. Sometimes I meet a friend, a fellow poet and passersby who looks straight ahead like a soldier of soul, the rolling pitch of yearning and discerning. Memoir, a sonnet, of each passing glance from a woman-turned girl upon the library steps, cool and calm in the hay, to the sand and surf on a hot day in moody September. I began to count the hours which I scamper and woo every second of windless heat and frolic, of which the simple second after second of rhyme and reason, of free verse and summer solstice, cringing from a brisk autumn refrain. Park, Golden Gate Park at the edge of Haight Street, perpendicular to Stanton Street and other sorrows. Oh yes, tomorrow will come, but where will I be? Off and beyond, going in another world, had we but words and worlds and words and words in a wordless world, words in a world that can kill me sharp like the teeth of a piranha fish biting. I am like a placid cow in the midst of the Amazon. Words of their world that is razor sharp and biting, tearing me down.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Bill. And now Stephanie Manning, who has been such a help around here for decades and centuries. Honor her, please.
And then Gabrielle. I love that tambourine. I just love it. Reminds me of flamenco. Flamenco. So today's Chronicle had a picture of these two gigantic boulders, like 8 feet in diameter, that have been placed on Dolores Street to make sure the homeless don't build their tents there.
Oh, that's fucked up.
So my poem is To the Rocks on Dolores Street. Are you the rocks in my head? Where did you come from, and what are you doing here? What river or mountaintop were you stolen from? Someplace high up in the Sierras, far, far away. You weigh tons and tons. How did they get you here? To a city full of people, cars, and buildings. You are so beautiful, a real tectonic act of creation. You deserve better. You deserve to stay where you were created. How dare people use you as a deterrent to homeless people? My Mountain Miwok native friend says that even the rocks have souls. I think that's what's so disturbing about this photo of you. There in front of an apartment building. You are a creation of grace. The building is some speculator's project, a calculation. And so greedy for grace, the project trades resources for cash with the kidnappers who take some lumbering, weight-bearing behemoth of a truck up into the mountains, find you and your brethren, kidnap you out of your home, and haul you away into cities, and put you where tents used to be on Dolores Street. Did they do an environmental impact report beforehand? You are very effective in this evil task. Too bad you had nothing to do with the decision. Do you blend with the architecture of the streetscape? What do the homeless think of you? Do you even know what homeless means? People of the future should remember that you are not amalgam, not concrete or plaster, but solid rock, and you had no choice in the matter. Maybe someday they will flatten your top and build a home up there, good solid boulder that you are. Until then, we who love you will sit in contemplation of this crazy moment in history before Earth makes its voice heard, when we could have made a difference, but for the mesmerizing light in the palm of our hands.
Gabriel, Stephanie, thank you for your generosity.
Gabriel.
Gabriel? Yep. Oh, Harry, this is not your first time though, right?
No, this is the
Oh, good,
first time.
good. Give him a round of applause, engage for Gabriel.
Thank you very much.
Gabriel!
What's the theme again?
Huh?
What's the theme?
Medium.
Medium. Oh.
But it's not required that you respond to that.
All right.
It's just
Well,
an
it's been a while.
advisory in case you.
Right.
You can
All right.
Just get really close to the mic when you're ready.
Is this close enough?
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. That's good.
So I'll just begin. I'll just begin because I'm under a time frame. When words fail to form dimension, we take a swig and sing democracy. Fling ourselves to bed and feel the piety of lovers' hands. From apple bites to cat cries, we rush to cigarette butts and wait for those who've kept pace, to be met by saint or sinner who shares a mind like mine. Tired of creeping through crevices of divided days, a luster light yields itself to dawn, and spires cast shadows in street corners, there where hands still smell of soil, to feel sweat and walk through the world as if it were behind us. Superstitions of love, a premonition of the day's demands. Margie, darling, the bread's stale, I've got boys to feed. So said Johnny on the other line, who later laughed his way to the bank, charming the accountant with vain sentiments and predictions of weather. It's only for the night, he said. Then when dawn rose, he beheld it with twitching eyes, trembling amongst the names of men he never mentions, usurers like headless chicken who walk over plowed bodies and silver needles, through vacant halls, washing Adderall down with vodka, weeping over the mind's void and the size of their genitals, burning evidence of their escapades, severing investors and preaching propriety, lying to those entrusted, tired of renewing food stamps, those who knock one door to the next, one door to the next. Margie, on her third glass of wine, snips the phone wire, grabs the towel, clutches the shower's rail, and feels a cold stream run through her pores, there where she dreams the skies of claustrophobic Germany, while we suffer from the rush of coffee, exhilarated by intent and lust for danger, stranded in some sterile loft, to sleep through boredom and dream redemption, crawling through crowds and discerning lies. Through trials and tribulations we wait till our bearings slip from grasp. Johnny, in his sleepless state, shuffles through testaments and felonies, clenching fistfuls of dust. On the 5th floor he screams and feels no thought nor plea regurgitate, no pendulum swing, lost in the forefronts of history and its empty threats, left alone with predictions of a future we refuse to face, giving into madness and the terror of unscripted reality, discoveries found in mistakes we can't take back, to let go and fall on our feet, listening to stories we've heard before. That love will come when we step down the pedestal and feel sand between our toes, or that of the wind that dims the fire and our heart's desire for vengeance, to toss and turn and hide ourselves from history, without obligation or blood in the game, to imagine the world round in the palm of our hands, and that of a pastoral sun strengthening the crops fed by swine piss, to harvest fields without regards to cries against industry, to count each dime and go on in silence, to ease the pain with rum and tame the freedom a predator feels when teeth are gnawed about in the flesh of its victim, when carnal inclination translates prophecies foretold to other eyes in the same room, our prayers disrupted by the dominion of desire, to deny a lover's trust and yield the power of a god that Elon promised, that sex comes second to knowledge and that love comes second to money, left with books and periodicals, to climb ladders and realize we're infantile, masculinity and its mimicry, Odysseus who claimed the right to be, so said a woman who dreamt of Penelope's hair in flames, or that of the nubile form Pygmalion carved from stone, free from domestic chains. And now to walk these gaps and perceive the silence of a sea, where eyes sank without tombs, like forgotten legacies the living once contrived. Thank you.
Wow, have an interesting segue to that one. Unfortunately for you folks out there. So, a tiny bit of background. Back when the Ukraine was having its to-dos with a troubled election, there was some civil disturbances, and in one case, a set of individuals who were, trying to register voters were driven off the streets and into a building, and the people who didn't like the idea of them registering votes set the building on fire and saw to it that none of them escaped. So this has to do with that, and Ukraine being in the news all fits, plus what the previous poet just said. So anyway, here we go. How can the dead ever rest? For what must prey upon them still, enticing them to remain connected, unable to let go of life, and so be drawn into our consciousness while we focus on their death and they call and beg invisibly. In Odessa, as their lips gibbered in a blistering breath of prayer for life and resurrection, the strutting naked beast of war let them to their immolations, grunting incoherent, musty, guttural mouthings as they swaggered off, blue eyes piercing broad nostrils at the flare, scenting up more prey. Stopping only to roar in violent rage, exposing its gory maw. There's no mistaking the crimson stain, dribbling from its fat chin to sagging breast. It has the same old hunger and reeks of hate, and its heart harbors a cold will to murder. All while apparently clean hands are simply signing off on snow-white paper. Hands no different from those we hold before our very own eyes. Hands which, in their own way, whether by tax or tithe, go hand in hand with those of fat pundits demanding their pounds of flesh, who believe their colors don't run, whose quislings have unchained this gorgon, this kraken, which given its head with every ka-ching at the checkout is encouraged with our taxing, and this thing has been loosed. We hear it has fired up yet another human barbecue in the Ukraine. And that the Odessa mob didn't clean its mess but ran off, leaving locals to cope with charred carcasses. What kind of men are these who can mob, rail, and storm? What are their crazy-eyed dreams made of? What tales do they tell their children? Why do they, of all people, wear the Hakenkreuz? What kind of woman takes these neo-Nazis to bed? What kind would have them at all except their own? But we would have them. McCain stood with them, Kerry too, and Eurocrats along with the IMF, NATO, and more. Bankers will have their fist. For this, they need the beast, which unleashed, though least and indebted, is let to do its thing. No matter our holy book or theirs, yea, verily, we have dispatched it, and this thing in our service has become ours. It's no real secret. Our rulers and their rulers know it. And although they say it, we say it, and the dead certainly do say it, we all mean very different things when we say payback will be a bitch. Thank you.
Maximilian. And then who's after Max?
Yasmin and Martin.
Yasmin after Max. Nice round as he comes up, please.
the Green Presidio. We are making the Green Revolution in the Green Presidio. We are building up a museum, organic museum, how to farm, how to produce real food in the Presidio. We have all the space to do it, to make a role model for the rest of the world, what is real food, and not the condemned food what we are having on our market. So the Presidio will be a role model after the incident we had with Roundup treatments. They're paying back this. This is something they have to do. This is create restaurants that are inside the Presidio, 100% organic. All the parties they have there from on Thursdays and Sundays, barbecues, picnics, and with many trucks, with food trucks, they have to be organic. There is a Starbucks there inside the Presidio. Well, Starbucks can say if it becomes organic. So this is my fantasy, but there's a lot, it is a reality that is creating now. So you are the first folks here. This is a serious matter. This is, the Presidio Trust is governmental. So the government has Roundup and has Monsanto in his pocket. So the Presidio and San Francisco could give an example to the rest of the states and the rest of the world that we are different and we can do something different. Thank you.
Yasmin, and then
Thank you, David.
hi, Yasmin.
Hi, how are you? Oh, thank you. It's difficult to continue the novel because there's so many new people. I'm so tempted to give a little bit of background, but there isn't any time, so I'm just going to read it. I just have to get on with it. So it's an extract from a novel. Mother watched us from her window. She had given her permission as long as Kareem completed his work. The courtyard of Colaba police station resounded with cries of victory as we watched the sky clear up in patches where the kites had been. Our kite was the last and solitary one, flying high up, bobbing like a bulbul, chirping in the early morning. Mother came down and joined us after he had deserted. In the sunlight, the powdered glass glittered and sparkled like silver makeup on a bride. Brother felt the string. He nodded in assent as Kareem winked at him. "Are you happy?" Kareem asked when we had a moment alone. "I am so happy." I spun around in glee. "Then you will come tonight to visit me, you will." I sat by my grandmother long after the last kite had been pulled in for the season. Crows settled over remnants of mango seeds tossed on the garbage mounds. Their noise muffled my voice. "You won't tell Mother if you see me run away in the night, will you?" I asked grandmother. "I'll tell your mother nothing as long as you keep running away from her." She asked if I'd kept her tobacco in a safe place for her when she had left with me. In the dark, I stepped over the petals strewn over the stairwell of the servants' quarters. They became phantoms, taking on the shapes of convicts being beaten in the upstairs room. I quickened my pace and rushed frantically into Kareem's room. "Are you a phantom too?" I asked the shadow, awaiting me. "I am a poor man, and I am a servant, and you are the Sahib's daughter." He did not move as I came in. "You can fly a kite better than I can. You're so good at everything you do." "And what of it, my princess?" "Mother calls me her dark little princess. Why do you? Besides, Mother says no one will marry me. And I say they will come in hordes to court you. I don't want to be courted, not even by me." Above the Colaba police station, the officers laughed wildly. This one was a tough iron, wasn't he? Took 2 days to make him speak and confess. They laughed again. Tomorrow we get the loot. The inspector will be proud. I crouched as I heard their voices. Kareem's words were like water sprinkled over flame. They beat them hard, you know. All know. You know who beats them? My little princess. Kareem's arms were around me, holding me, rocking me. He stroked my face. Taking a rag from his table, he wiped my forehead. He laid me down on the jute bag. Your father is a good man. We all do things we'd have to. He doesn't have to kick them so hard. The words were a gush. And the belt. Shh. He silenced me, placing his fingers on my lips. Little princesses don't need to be bothered with the running of the state. They are to look pretty and enjoy their lives. I was agitated. Stop talking about your princesses. I'm dark and ugly and skinny, and no one wants me. He pulled out some paper from his pocket and placed it in his hands. And he read me a poem. He said, "You do not speak Arabic, and I do not speak English, so we will write it in Urdu. Had I the heavens embroidered gold, I'd spread them beneath your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams." In the dark, Kareem became my opium, my rag dolls, my papaya tree, my phantom, my goddess Kali, ready to slay the demons who haunted me. I told Kareem all about the convicts and how they kept me awake. I told him all I had told the papaya tree as he held me. Afterwards, I wiped the saliva off my face as he kissed me and told him I didn't like the kissing. An hour went by quickly in bed. I fell asleep without the nightmares. I wasn't scared of the convicts being beaten, and I vowed I would visit Kareem often, even if it meant kissing him. During the day, Kareem waited at the tables. He was the servant in the house and did what he was ordered to do. In the night, I gave Kareem his kisses and went less to the papaya tree. Kareem became the master of my house. He was my idol. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you. Mr. Martin Joseph. Huh?
Julie Rogers.
Oh, I thought you were first.
No, she's first.
Oh, Julie Rogers and then Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that. You leave it out of your way. This is your first time here, correct? Oh, that's right. No, that's right. Darn it. I forget everything. That's okay. Yes. But it's been a time since
It's
then.
been a while, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for listening. I just have 3 poems. I understand there's a theme tonight that I wasn't aware of.
Medium, but it's not
Media?
medium.
Medium.
And that can be taken in any way you like.
Okay.
And you do not have to respond. It's just
I'm not very mediocre. I'm not sure what I am, but it's not mediocre. Okay, this first poem was written staying out in the woods. It's called Supreme Being. At dawn, when the forest grows blue and the dark, many-armed creatures towering over the house turn into trees, and the murky sky becomes an empty sea, whatever is awake, whatever is the deity, sheds its cape of stars to sit silently, pondering the world in nakedness. There is no grandeur. The swollen eye of the sun is slow to open, the earth still creased with the weight of night. Things are as they are, and in this, the heart of all that is supreme beats. I'm compelled to read this because I'm so disturbed about the news. And it's not necessarily directed at anyone in the room, but it is from my heart. It's called The Song of the World. We cannot bear the suffering of the world, and it is in us. Our hunger is the same, rooted in pain, and we want to stop hurting.
We try to stop knowing so it will go away, so we freeze. Do not feel, do not show yourself. We do not want to be seen in pain, so we hide from it, from ourselves, a sort of voluntary blindness. We cannot move, we cannot see, we do not want to be true. Paralyzed, the heart becomes numb, but sings inside without words, because words from the heart must tell the truth, and we don't want to hear it. Tell me I will not die, that I will not suffer, and I will listen. Tell me I must accept this tenderness, and I will hide. In that deep secret place, pain is the consuming darkness, but we mistake it for safety because it is familiar, it seems real. When I open my eyes there, I am surrounded by the world. I will say this even if no one listens. I say it because truth is. When will we listen? Until then, we cannot hear the singing. It is as though we are all asleep together. As we stir, the song will be everywhere. It will wake us. And just one other short poem. This is called For Example, and it has to do with one of the 4 thoughts that turn the mind in Buddhism. Her karma is all in her head. Wherever she goes, it follows, dog on the leash of her tongue. Karma walks her to the corner in town with a red dress on. Karma sets her up in an apartment. Karma is the rent always due. She comes back every night, cooks karma dinner, that demanding tyrant, refusing to clean up. Karma follows her to the mirror. She can't distinguish between them. Their wrinkles identical. And when she dies, karma will hold her like a promise.
Thank you. Now is Martin Joseph, am I right? Before our feature, the penultimate, she was the anti-penultimate, so you're the penultimate. Pensultimate.
Pensultimate.
Martin Joseph, how are you?
Good evening, Sacred Grounds.
Hey, hey.
Tonight's poem is about the feature. I wrote it lifting phrases from 6 different of his poems and incorporating them, weaving them on my own loom. Towards the end, you may hear an ohm or two, and I invite you to join in. Tonight's poem is called Fistful of Karma. Toothless Dusty ran up the tower. He furiously rang the church bell. "He's coming!" he yelled out to the town. "It's time to get ready! He's coming!" But nobody was listening. Few of us remembered the days when he was the Buddhist sheriff of this town. He'd walk tall down the street carrying heavy moral lumber, and no one wanted to face the wrong side of his ohm. That, of course, was before the bugs took over, or rather before we noticed that they had. Like our man Darwin, he learned to adapt and grow skilled and nimble when handling the short end of the stick. Now the bugs envy him. They ask each other, how could he have survived with all that's happened? Surely when we bugs have long expired, they say, he will remain walking tall once again and carrying heavy moral lumber. There is only one Buddha sheriff in this town, and although the days when he sprinted square outs over the freshly cut grass and freshly dug gopher holes in Golden Gate Park are gone, he still walks tall, carrying his id in a lizard bag. The number 21 that he wore on his back says it all. He was, he is, and he always will be old enough to know better, old enough to truly see the size of the windmill against which he sets his lance, timeless, wise, and foolish enough not to care. When he speaks, there is always an echo. You can hear him through the pipes, the whistling steam that scours away the mistakes, those awkward moments that cannot be undone, when love is handled and mishandled with the best of intentions, when the great ah of kindness arrives and he knows that he is loved, when the great silence of confusion occurs and he knows that it is no longer. The Buddha sheriff has his own history. It is only tangential that Buddha Brother Corso chanted blessings in his house, that Buddha Brother Ginsburg wished him love from his deathbed, that he was close enough to hear the moans overheard that night as two souls above him, one of them me, began the creation of the golden child. The Buddha sheriff is a chant of his own. I hear it echoing through the monastery halls. I hear it resonating in the square and down the mountain. I hear it joining the resonance of the giant bell that is struck by a log on chains. Buddha sheriff, the child with clenched fist and bloody knuckles, riding wave of righteous anger over larger boy would-be oppressor, over larger boy with red flowers, split lip, running blood, running as thin as water. Buddha sheriff is the flying 21, body stretched out parallel to the ground, executing the perfect square out pattern, grasping the singing spiral in mid-flight. What hands, they cried, what hands! Soul style slapping high fives, holding pen, striking keys onto eternity. What hands! Buddha sheriff, young man spending years among waiters and fry cooks who love the world and revel in it. Young man cooking regular pots of healthy soup and a little loneliness stew. There are the substance of empty January when no love is to be found. These are the times when streams are cold and poets go fishing. Buddha sheriff clutching an angry champagne bottle from an old Halloween window display and regretting the words that he told her. He brought anger to her warm silk bed where she pulled him down without speaking. The bells in his fool's cap jingled as anger merged with joy of yes, and the bells laughed at the fool who beat his head against fleshy walls again and again. Buddha sheriff, gone to 50, gone to 21, gone to 11, gone to 60. It is all the same. It is all the same. You will always have the hands. You will always have the heart. You will always have the red flower split lip bleeding like water into the emptiness of time.
Am I framed right? Am I framed?
No,
Sorry.
you're not.
Peter.
Now you are.
I thank you. So we're going to bring Peter up here now. I've known him for 17,647 Manavent or Grand Manavent. Sorry about that. You know, and 2 days, 5 hours, 6 minutes, and 43 seconds. We go way back. And we had this magazine that we both participated in, Birthstone magazine, and it's approaching its 50th recognitional year of some kind of repetitional thing that doesn't happen. You know, an anniversary, but it's gone now all these years. Peter is a great poet, and as you can see, Mr. Martin Joseph honored him with his own words to some extent. The lizard bag thing, remember that? It's a great piece, I love that. So rather than have me heap praise upon him, which is a noteworthy thing to do, and I would do that, I'd rather have him speak, and then we will praise him with all that. Peter, come on up. Peter, great guy, love him.
Great shortstop, actually. Wow. Yeah, we'll get you set up there, buddy.
Wow. Heaped with praise indeed. Thank you, Dan.
I could say more, but then they'd say, let Peter talk.
No, then I don't have to read as much.
No, we don't want you to.
Well, it was in May last year. Yeah. Oh, anyway, we had a Birthstone magazine reunion.
Yes.
And then I read a 20-minute poem about Gregory Corso, who I got to know. Recently, somebody asked me to write something about him, so this is what I wrote. The poet Gregory Corso once asked my name. 1977, the summer of Sam, the king of rock and roll is dead. We were to study Gilgamesh and watch the poet do his dancing bear routine at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. 30-some years later, I listened to a recently digitally archived internet recording of that first day of class. This is my first day of class, and I want to have fun. I'm going to check out the fuckers. Well, that's cool. That'll take me about a half an hour. And you, what's your name? Peter. Peter what? Peter Marti. What? Peter what? Peter Marti. Marty. Peter Marty. All right, Peter Marty. We're all Gilgameshes. That's it for this week. That's the shot. And he attempted to bluff his way out early. The epic and the class theme was, how do you get out of it? I don't really care what you think. I have as much contempt for you as I do for the dead. That's what he said to somebody who said, but class is supposed to go another hour. But my friend Mark Fisher, 18 years old, and fearlessly brilliant, compared Gilgamesh to On the Road. And he delivered enough to earn the respect of the poet. Now, for years, including last year when I read this long poem, I had misquoted Gregory from that day. I thought he said, beware of people who laugh too much. They're hiding something. But what he really said was, beware of people on the sideline who laugh too much, because they don't know how it ends. The participation of laughter is not always a goodie. Vincent Zangrillo, my other friend from the class, Italian, handsome, shy at first, not archived on the class recording. He and I met going to different wild drunken parties the poets threw all the time, racing off into the Neil Cassidy Rocky Mountain Night to Golden and to Ward and the back of pickup trucks or the way back of station wagons, snorting coke with the mayor, soothing our hangovers the next morning with flagons of coffee by the apartment house pool before starting it up all over again. Gilgamesh, the epic shot, friendship, immortality, sacrifice, dream themes we set out to crack the code on. Check back with me in about 30 years to let me know how we did. We read our poems at the county jail. A little reading improvised here or there. We read in classrooms, in bars, in auditoriums. We sat shamatha. Some of us shat some shamatha. Awareness meditation in the light, large shrine room. We took a keto with the beautiful freckled Dutch Amazon goddess, but mostly we drank beer and wished we had pot to smoke. I tried unsuccessfully to cheat on my girlfriend back in San Francisco. I got to second base with a poet girl from Kansas who saved me from another night hanging out with the gay guys. But she left me blue as the Colorado sky. That's it. There's not much of an end, yeah. It's new. What can I say? Well, we started to move last summer, and we still haven't quite got there. We're living in a quote-unquote temporary house, so I have none of my old stuff. So I went through and I actually found a box of really old stuff, and this is a dream from 1984. Ronald Reagan is taking tickets for a big deal dinner that costs $4. I hand him a 10, but he gives me back just $1. I complain loudly, but he stubbornly says, I gave you your change, now move along. Look, the tickets are $4, so I should get another 5 back. You only give me a 5, he lies, shaking his jowls. But I'm sure it was a 10 I gave you. And back and forth we go. The line fidgets behind me. Cheap president, I mutter, and move out without my change. The woman next in line nods. She saw me give him a 10. So this summer, of course, was the 50th anniversary of landing on the moon, yeah? So I wrote this 20 years ago on the 30th anniversary. It's called Son of Rocket Science. If you've ever gone to Washington, D.C., to the Air and Space Museum of the Smithsonian, climbed the white granite stairs reflecting the blistering July sun, and then entered that cool lobby where the first thing you realize is that you're standing right next to the original Mercury space program capsule, the Gemini, in which John Glenn orbited the Earth in 1964. You see how small those astronauts were. They were all 5 foot 8 inches or less, as evidenced by the tiny capsule itself. It's now encased in clear plexiglass and displayed so that the scorched, rounded bottom shows the terrible heat of re-entry, hotter than DC in July, and that tried to burn the thing up before it could land in the cold Pacific with the short man inside. To stand staring as open-mouthed as the beefy tourist from Germany, amazed at the simple switches and gauges on the pre-computerized instrument panel, it is to travel in time. Lying on the black plastic 60s modern couch, sick and home from 4th grade, watching TV gray tones and artists' rendering of where John Glenn was, hour by hour, is to imagine the promise that space held for a 10-year-old boy drinking lemonade on the family room sofa in the California spring light. I'm a son of rocket science. My father helped develop the solid propellant fuel that put men on the moon. We would quickly finish supper dishes and homework and gather on the front lawn to watch the night sky south of San Jose explode into flame when Dad's company tested fuel by igniting an upside-down rocket booster housed in concrete, then measuring the burn ratios and reliability functions. For the 60 or 90 long seconds it took, I imagined those flames meant travel, explosions, or that the stars themselves were burning in the indigo sky, like the end of the world or time. We kids thrilled at it, squealed over Dad's goofy whoops of pride, echoing long after the silent roar of engines 20 miles away died down and the cold stars poked us back to TV and bed. So to see 30 years later to the day, the spacesuit that Neil Armstrong wore that July night when, age 15, and allowed beer on a camping trip with my buddy Matt and his father and friends, to recall that piney campsite viscerally. Wolfman Jack's funky radio growl and howls interrupted by the transistor news that This very suit protected a small man taking a small step on the shining, pockmarked surface that would never be the same Phoebe of myth or love poem again. And yes, to see the moon dust still clinging to the white Kevlar and Teflon fabric, the efficient mesh gloves and sturdy boots, and the sheer wealth of the gold glass-faced helmet reflecting the sun like those famous photos we saw forever in Life magazine. That is to apprehend this actual spacesuit with blue NASA patches and the stars and stripes, to feel those small gloves on my hands, to be Buck Rogers or one of the Hardy Boys riding the incredible lunar lander, once more to be the boy on the plastic couch, the howling teenager in a Lake Tahoe campground, even the 46-year-old breathing the fresh, rain-cooled air, light years from ever knowing such pure promise again. And heroes die. John F. Kennedy's son died today, plane crash, 30 years to the day of that moonwalk, just as my father died. Crew cut black and white photos of him at work inspecting the test site near Morgan Hill with the mayor. Moving into management, it's a decade changed, and the bill for Vietnam came due. His company made more money from napalm than rocket fuel for the moon and beyond. And no more money flowed into the race for space. Those Russian rockets didn't have the same quality fuel and boosters, and the technology just wasn't there. Our arms program of lies was helping to bankrupt their economy of lies. But we won. Thanks. The winter fly. Woke up, cold bathwater. This meat, no fingerprints. The buzz, almost angry, insistence. Boars near. Reaching for the hot water, I see him, black as a noble truth, certain as death, circling the still air, bigger than those baby long-legged spiders scrambling in webs that won't hold him. Buzz and touchdown, buzz and touch, tapping hard against the window, breathing in its own spring from the gone future outside. Born in this world, a strange winter fly, looking for escape, but lazy like the prone man below, barely moving. The whole being of him out of place without summer's maggoty, perfumed heat. And now the poor thing of space, its life a circling wind-up toy, feels the silky air of demise past the window screen. A 100-eyed glance beholding all this wonder, this pale late afternoon light captured in his nervous hand-wringing sewing thread arms, this jaundiced imminence. Like an old Indian head nickel, my Tibetan Lama's profile shines from the passenger seat where he rests, burnished by freeway lights as we crawl along rush hour traffic, slowed by rain. He leans the seat back, takes off his shoes, and snores a little, sounding like the guru yoga mantra I whisper under my breath. Then he wakes with a story. A wild Tibetan boy, he says, smaller than his friends, once lit a strand of an older student's hair on fire, and then fought ferociously while the bigger boy, his hair now smoldering, grabbed at his ears. Their teacher, Dudjom Rinpoche, laughing at the show, forbade anyone to interfere. The boy bloodied the bigger boy's nose for good measure. I always fought to win, he said, gazing out into the distance. The windshield wipers beat their slow tattoo of futility. We fitfully inching along, all thought lost to the black freeway night. Okay. TV keeps the lid on. TV keeps the lid on gruesome murder, and serial killers in limousines always get caught. The victims are beautiful, the police are beautiful, the fake carnage beautiful for our entertainment. TV keeps the lid on my head from fizzing off like advertised sugar water, exploding like a jet mirage 4th of July air show trick. I keep the anger in. I don't blow up. I don't shout. I don't throw knives anymore, even for fun. TV keeps the house safe when I'm alone, keeps the distance safe from room to room, adjusts the volume, the tent, the blurry edges slap down in front of the reporters and FBI profilers with perfectly manicured 3-day beards. TV keeps the lid on my ears from ringing, the hat on my head near the door instead of picking up the wind on a clear mountain road at night. But I need the lid on. I need TV like a tit, a tat, a hole in my logic, a punch to the gut instead of push-ups, or the multiracial woman it says I should be dating right now on eHarmony. Oh, TV keeps me sane, it keeps me hopeful, keeps the news happy when it should be, and properly concerned when it's snowing somewhere and doctors walk city streets with stethoscopes looking for future osteoporosis. And I get new teeth, new drugs, new women, new cars with rims of psychic children spinning the news, whichever way that works. I get TV across the spectrum, Hawaiian music, clenching jaws, pointed guns, plastic surgery, and outlaw bikers, nobler than the Prince of Danes. TV keeps the lid on my time, on my stomach, cock, marriage. We fight over hours spent watching. And joy. I can never be happy as long as TV exists. TV is suckhole. Yawning asphalt, sepia tone, lattice-fenced apple trees, but I'll never know such bliss as a dying cop's remorse, the acquitted stripper's migraine relief, or the death of mucus. Did you know that you could take a second antidepressant to help your first antidepressant work better so you can smile like sunshine in 30 seconds? Did you know a man could have 5 girlfriends surrounding him if he uses a mouth freshener that's 5 times as strong as before? TV isn't keeping a lid on anything. Every emotion is real, every storyline mysterious until the 6th act of a 1-hour drama, until the sitcom stars all fall down in a heap and the reality show becomes real. Oh, kind of like now. The clock winding down on the game, the race, the contest, and weather reports. TV is about dreams, about the bright lights and hopeful ambitions of plucky cell phone salesmen who bring coffee to fire dogs and talking toothbrushes. TV keeps a lid on tongue plaque diabetes. TV keeps a lid on airborne pay-per-view fights, pornography, and declining birth rates in first world countries. TV keeps a lid on my angst, my rage at gravestones of invisible strangers, and the songs I never sang. TV keeps a lid on the American flag, on test signals, lonely men with AK-47s mourning over their lost dreamland, their lost continent of imagined wealth, stolen by immigrants they've forgotten were once them. My great-uncle Fred. I don't recall him before stopping in Vegas en route to California when we moved here in 1960. My middle name is his. My father must have loved him to name me so, but 6 was kind of young to know what names meant. Grandpa's brother Frederick was a lifetime gambler. He had my family's wicked gene for booze and good times. Grandpa, though, was dry and tamed quiet by Grandma. Uncle Fred lost his chicken farm in divorce. He became a blackjack dealer at one of the new casinos blossoming in 60s Desert Oasis. When we vacationed that next summer, family of 7 piled into the Etzel station wagon, off to the Rockies, I was eager for my grandparents' meager spoiling, fresh-baked pies, and exploring the River Rock cabin built over the summers of my father's youth, horseback rides, and the South St. Vrain rainbow trout. When the call came, "Come, your brother is dead," Grandpa, my dad and older brother, drove a day to Las Vegas to bury what was left after the fire. Smoking in bed, they said. It was a flea bag hotel on Skid Row. My dad choked back his angry tear. And I was a greedy 7-year-old then. "But what did you bring us?" A single pair of hard red dice, golden nugget stamped on them. And so today I sit high atop another cathedral of gambling, above Lake Tahoe, Nevada, owning nothing but the impossible blue lake below, snow, pine mountains, and the same itch for more. My breath dissolves this universe of sky, wild mind to be tamed by and by. Thank you. I just have 2 more. This one's, I've never understood suicide after Anthony Bourdain. Which really, when he committed suicide, really, I'm a chef, so it really got me. And I just wrote this. I never understood suicide, but to take flight, that I feel. Soaring off a ledge, the drop of stomach, fear, a thrill. Ocean bluff on top of a building. First noticed age 15, jittery from no-dose caffeine pills. I wanted to rocket myself into space from high school grandstands, just to feel flight, to be airborne. Borne aloft, sans wings, no thought except to soar. Just now, a lazy 5 a.m. fly buzzed this light, and I wonder if a bird ever tired of its gift, would it fall like a stone, as would I? Though many times since, I felt the gut thrill of precipice, of outcrop, of unknown. I felt the launch in my calves, my thighs holding me back, the whirling sense of space beckoning past fear. But never understood the actual need to leave. So much more to do, and the gifted ones, the ones who do, actors, writers I've loved who suffered their fame like a child as candy stomach ache, who said no thanks, it's not enough, who saw the end for the hope it would ease their own pain. Depression, the vast lying pit of self, no longer able to climb free from. The rope we would throw others is for us too. To help those left here, hearing voices we loved echo off our breathing tongues. Thank you. This is called October. We stopped this Thursday at my neighbor a few minutes before me, akimbo car doors, where the dirt road bends past the dry creek washout just above the big pond. Also stopped under some scrub oaks, part of the local wild turkey flock, 10 hens and a young tom, heads bobbing, throat wattle neckties pointing up towards a golden eagle. Its tawny 5-foot wingspan extended, changing branches in the old walnut tree, as the turkeys below bolted to a different formation under a different tree, further from their beautiful menace. I was going to throw a rock to scare it away, but, she said, nodding to a good-sized chunk of shale in her hand. Lots more turkeys than golden eagles, I said. Did you see how they all stick together? Now only a careless bird would be caught. Oh, I wouldn't have hit it. I just scared it away. There's lots of turkeys. Well, I guess that makes us the X factor, helping one survive while the other goes hungry. Until then, we hadn't looked at each other, but then we did. And when we looked back, it was gone, exactly a month before Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
We're going to take a quick 5-minute-ish break. We'll be back very quickly with that, and we're going to go to the second show.
Everyone bust your tables, please.
And then we'll get more organized as the moment goes on.